Okay, so next up is another man that needs no introduction. He is one of the organizers of this conference, Sam DeBord, CEO of RESO.
Good morning, everybody. They put the tech guy up to make sure the tech works. This is really exciting. Somebody told me once never follow Brad Inman on stage, so sorry. Fantastic storyteller, really exciting to have Brad here. This just makes me happy to have these faces here, this collection of leaders from across the industry. It's amazing. This is the first event of this type that we put together. And thank you all. So we're just going to go through some things quickly to get started here. I want to thank, in particular, as we get started, CEPI. It's an honor, and we are grateful to have the invite to be a part of this event with CEPI. They represent 24 countries, not just the national trade organizations, but also the locals. Thanks in particular to Alain and SNPI. We had a great dinner with the French organization last night to get to meet a lot of you and your organizations. This is a little different than what we're traditionally used to for a real estate conference. We have the usual kinds of organizations, MLSs, brokerages, tech companies, but we've got legal counsel, financial institutions, government officials as part of this event. So it's a broad, diverse group of folks, but obviously an important, high-impact group of folks who are here at our event. And so that'll change the content a little bit from what we're used to at some of our traditional conferences. Again, want to thank all of our partners, lots of different organizations who are part of this. In particular, Joe thanked some of our sponsors. Realtina, our title sponsor for this event. Not only the title sponsor, but the horsepower to get this event going. The showstoppers are the folks from CEPI. That's what we're here for. But Realtina really did the legwork. They're also a leader on the standard side. They're the first organization to use RESO standards for multi-language metadata. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but really leading the industry on that front. Our folks who are with us represent 5 continents, 33 countries. We've been looking at this slide for a long time, organizing, but it's still pretty amazing and impactful when you say it out loud in terms of the scope of who's here for our event. So when we talk about global real estate, international real estate markets, it's important to think about that scope and what it means. It's estimated there's about $600 trillion in value of global real estate. Now, dollars, euros, very similar right now, so any of these numbers will be very comparable. That's huge opportunity for our businesses, but it's also huge responsibility. We don't just sell video games and mobile apps. We build communities in our industry, and we have a responsibility to build and protect that value in our marketplaces. We've got a little bit more North American content today, so we thought we would look at some of the numbers and compare what MLS marketplaces look like compared to global markets in general. I'll start with a caveat. There are 1,000 different reasons why the US is different from another market. There's 1,000 different reasons why the Canadian market is different than other markets. But we can draw some conclusions from some of the data we see. Global population, the US is less than 4% of the total population. But in transaction volume, it's about 13%. Now, importantly, transaction volume is not just home prices. Yes, US home prices are relatively high globally, but not the highest by far. Transaction volume is how quickly transactions turn over, how quickly consumers transact with their business partners, which grows that space. And that's going to be a big part of what we're talking about for the next couple days, is the liquidity of the market. How quickly can consumers and businesses transact when they want to in their marketplace? Canada is the other market with a similar MLS system to the US, similar ubiquity of MLS marketplaces. Again, similar effect. Their transaction volume is about double the punching power of the population if you look at it globally. And that is due in large part to the efficient marketplaces that they have transparent, efficient marketplaces where people can transact no matter the price point, that they can do it as quickly as is necessary. And so that's really a big part of our theme, is that these marketplaces with transparency allow people to transact. They move inventory more quickly. It's important for businesses, it's important for consumers, for homeowners, and that's based on a foundation of rules, much like a stock market, which frankly is not as important as a housing market. But there's similarities in terms of how those markets work to be liquid and turn over transactions and inventory. You've got licensing laws in stock exchanges. You've got laws about who can sell, what can you sell, what kind of information do you have to share, what kind of information that has to be timely, accurate, trusted by the consumers so they can transact as quickly as they want to. It's the same foundation in MLS. You have rules, processes, regulations that allow your consumers to trust the marketplace, allow your businesses to trust the information that's being shared, and consumers transact, and businesses transact at a high rate with that foundation of rules. In the US, when we think about big markets, big stock exchanges, we think about New York. I can never tell a story as well as Brad, but got a little one for you. I got a chance to go to New York at the end of last year with my two sons, 10 and 13 years old. My wife and daughter had already done Broadway, they'd already seen the city. So this is a boys' trip, and we were gonna hit every site as fast as we could. And we got there, did the Statue of Liberty, did Times Square, everything you'd expect, Central Park, Rockefeller Center. And when we got to the World Trade Center, something felt wrong. I woke up on my back, on the floor, with my boys' wide eyes staring at me, staff rushing up. 2 minutes later, security was there. 2 minutes later, NYPD was there. Literally 5 minutes later, EMTs and an ambulance were there. Now, this is Manhattan. This is downtown New York. There are tourists and services everywhere, of course. But this is an incredibly complex city, an incredibly well-populated city. It took us about 15 minutes to get to an emergency room. As we're rolling in, they're getting my consent, they're pulling up my electronic medical records, they're getting my medications, my allergies, hooking me up to IVs. You've got nurses, doctors running tests, doing labs. Got my boys to another place where they could go watch movies. And by the end of the day, we were done. They let us go. We got an Uber back to the hotel. Now, the story behind it is we just left a Christmas dinner. And no matter what holiday you celebrate, please cook those birds fully. I knew I was getting sick on this trip, but like a typical male, I didn't see a doctor. I just fought through it. So not a big deal, but we got in an Uber, we went to the hotel, we came back the next day on the New York subway. And our trip was fine. We had a great vacation. We had a good laugh with the staff at the World Trade Center because they remembered us from the day before. But the point is not my little health scare. The point is there were 1,000 ways that could have ruined our vacation. There were 1,000 ways. Staff, security, police, EMTs, ambulance, medical records, medications, tests, reports, the Uber and the subway. They don't always work perfectly, but they usually work. In a city like New York, that could be chaos with that many people and that many systems, without rules, without policies that people follow, because they trust that they're going to work. And it does work. And we had a great vacation because all of that, all those 1,000 things that could have gone wrong, people generally trust the rules and processes, and it makes that efficient system work. That's really our theme for MLS, is having these marketplaces that people trust because of the rules and the policies and the transparency of information, that they're willing to put their confidence in those systems. And that's just the current and the past. The information about past transactions and how to transact, much of what Brad talked about, that experience. But what we get from MLS and from data standards also drives future. It drives our ability to make good decisions for our organizations, for our communities, for our governments, for our businesses, for our consumers through data. Now this will show some things tomorrow specific things about RESO, RESO products, data sets. Obviously, our data is heavily focused on the US now, because that's where much of our historical work has come from. But the point of having data standards is to be able to make better decisions for our businesses. And it doesn't take away local uniqueness. It doesn't take away the fact that in your market, your customers speak a different language. They've got different legal requirements. They've got different local nuances in the way they do business. It doesn't take any of that away. It enhances it because it allows us to express it across different countries so that other people in other markets understand your market. They understand the differences, which are expressed in a common way, and it really builds that shared knowledge that we have across markets, across borders, across communities. And that's why we're seeing this growth in terms of MLS, with all of you here, and in terms of data standards across the world. You could have looked a couple years ago at RESO and said, that's an American organization. It's Canadians and the US. And that was basically where most of our focus was. We're over 20 countries in the last couple of years of member organizations who've joined RESO to build MLSs, to build technology products, to build brokerage products. And most of that traffic is inbound because people trust the system. They've seen that it works. They've seen in the marketplace that this works, that this shared information that we have is effective for their businesses, and it's really what drives that global growth of what we do because it is a universal technology language. You can layer whatever your local nuances are, your local languages, your local legal differences in your organizations, and that universal technology language still delivers us that shared information that our consumers trust. We are grateful for the opportunity to be here. We appreciate you all taking your time and effort and knowledge to be part of this event, and we're looking forward to spending the next couple of days with you. Thank you.